All right, so what I wanted to do today in Dry Rock Gulch is talk about these cano lanterns. This is definitely not an idea that's unique to me. They're essentially luminarias made with cans. Got one made out of a soup can. Got some other cans of different sizes in the back. These are the ones that I like the most. They're large cans. Sometimes they're coffee cans, or maybe you know someone who works at a school cafeteria, and this is where the horse meat comes in. You can get those from the lunch lady. As far as I know, the idea of carving these came from my good personal friend and mentor, Pumpkinrot. Pumpkinrot posted these on his blog a couple of years back. He didn't do a tutorial, he never does tutorials, and I haven't seen anybody else show anything about how these are made. I'm not saying that I'm making mine exactly the same way he did, but as with every video, I'm also not showing you this is how you should do it. This is just how I did it. So this is kind of the end result that we're going for. You can see various finishes behind me. Some of these are very rusty. I got this look simply by spraying it with salt water and leaving it out for a couple of years. These are cans where I actually put the cans in a fire to burn off the labels. So that's one look there. Some that I painted to look more pumpkin-y. It's another one that is actually genuinely rusty. Of course, this is how they start. So we're going to start with this, and we're just going to talk about what you need. This is the tools that I start with. This is a drill with a 1/8 inch bit. It's a very, very tiny bit. Its purpose is to drill the pilot hole, and that's it. If you're going to drill the holes to put the wires, you probably need a fatter bit. That gets you started. I now use these. These are great little knives that I got at Haunter Freight. They fold, they lock into place, they've got changeable blades. I love that they come in two sizes. This small one is great for more detailed small cuts, and this is bigger for getting the job done on your big shapes. Also, I have used this to do the initial pilot hole because it's far less likely to snap than this when you're first working it into that tin. However, this saves you from both of those problems. Both of these knives come with these awesome sheaths that I have had for months now and not yet lost, which has got to be some kind of record. I'm going to contact the Guinness people about that. When I first made these, I used one of these. Nothing wrong with this. Obviously, you don't need these. You can use this. I did find that I didn't like the way that it wiggled, and just the way that I push on it with my thumb. I tended to sometimes push that button and it would slide back, and so I had to really make a conscious effort. It's not really an issue with these, so I don't use this anymore. Some people might be tempted to use this. There is no way that this is a good idea. Even if you somehow manage to make it work without shards of these things flying into your eyes, it's definitely a bad idea to do that. On the topic of breaking, these blades do break, and sometimes when they break, they go flying. It's definitely a good idea to be wearing your eye protection. Only cover the eyes that you want to keep. It's also a good idea to wear actual leather gloves. These blades are sharp. Of course, the edges are sharp once you've cut them. There's so many opportunities for you to cut yourself on nasty old tin cans. You really want to be wearing leather gloves to protect you from that. And then once the things are cut, you need something to grab them. This is just examples. You can have any pliers that work for you. Anything, as long as you can get a grip and bend the metal without using your fingers. Also, I like the metal or the pliers because you can get real close to the bend and it gives a much tighter corner, and once you do bend it, you can pinch it down and basically flatten it out. So that's probably all you really need to get started. You just want to make sure that you have your materials, that your blades are sharp, So I don't really know what I'm going to do with this particular can. You will probably want to have some kind of a design in mind. First thing I'm going to do, I don't want that seam in the front, so I'm going to whip it around to the back, and that's how I'm going to decide where to put my pilot hole. The thing about these 1/8 inch bits, it's really great that they come in these multi-packs, because these things snap. They're very, very thin. If I'm using them for anything more strenuous than a tin can, I'll typically coat them with soap or wax or something to help them go through a little bit easier. So now what I've got is I've got a couple of very tiny holes that I can use to start the process. And I can use my little blade or I can use my big one. I'm just going to go here. And I'm just going to work it. Just working the blade. I have tried other tools. Tried a Dremel and various cutting implements. Boy, that's a danger to yourself and others. And it didn't do a great job, really. It took longer, and I felt more dangerous, and it didn't do a better job. Just getting started on this. Getting my classic triangle jack-o'-lantern eye shape. This does eat through your blades pretty fast. I got this pack of whatever that is, 50 or 100 or whatever, same day that I bought the knife. So now I got the eyes cut. Sometimes you can just bend them back a little bit, and here's one where I've done that. There's probably some others back there where I've just made the cut and then pushed it back. And what happens when that lights up, of course the light shines through and you get the impression of the eyes. This is, of course, not safe to put where anybody can get to it because it's got all kinds of sharp edges inside of there. But again, this is what I do. It's not what you should do. I'm going to bend these down, and now I'm just using my pliers to pinch them into place. So now they're folded down. It's marginally safer. I'm not going to say that it's safe. If somebody were reaching in there, like if you're using this as a candy bucket, that'd be an incredibly bad idea. There should be a light in here, ideally a candle. Nobody should be reaching in and burning themselves anyway. Just to give you an idea, like getting the hole started without the drill, it's possible. I'm going to go ahead and start a nose, and now it's started. It doesn't have to be any particular shape. I'm just going to go with a super basic triangle. Yeah, you know what? Trapezoids will work too. Now comes the mouth. Of course, you can do anything you want with the mouth. Some of these you can see behind me. They're a lot more intricate than others. If there's a lot of corners, I like to use this. Sometimes I'll draw these out. Sometimes I'll draw them right on the can. I don't usually draw them right on the can. I do usually draw them on paper somewhere, but it's not necessary. And it depends on the effect that you want. I want mine to look primitive, or more rustic, more old. Even the happy ones, I want them to look a little bit on the creepy side. Sometimes I'll get to a point where I'm cutting down and I want to go back, and it's just easier to cut into the space that's already been cut rather than from it. So rather than cutting up away from the cut, sometimes it's just easier to start a new hole and drive it down to meet the old one. If I'm doing lines like that, I will definitely have 3 different starting points. I might do the first one from here, but then all the rest are going to cut into that convergence. Otherwise, what's going to happen is as I try to cut it, it bends it in, and it just makes it harder in the long run. Probably some shop teachers out there turning in their graves. That's okay. It's okay with me anyway. Alright, so that's gotten us a good start. So again, from here, if I wanted to, I could push these in and fold it down, and what I would get is just a mouth that's flat on the bottom and then the teeth on the top. Or I could just push them in a little bit and I get just the suggestion. So having said that, I'm going to nevertheless cut the bottom. All right, so I got some of my pilot holes. See what I was talking about when you cut and it bends? There we go. So we got a basic pumpkin shape or jack-o'-lantern face shape. Something to get started with. Dun, 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 dun.